All right, one more step. So let's update to 121.5. Oh, right, we found ourselves back in IntelliJ more, and in this tutorial we'll be updating our NeoForge project from 1.21.4 to 1.21.5. Once again, please note that you will not be able to update from 1.21.1 to 1.21.5 with this guide. You'll first need to watch the update video to 1.21.3, that's 1 hour long, and then the 1.21.4 update video, that's about half an hour long. So, you know, that's totally fine, right? Yeah, huge disclaimer, I highly recommend you stick with 1.21.1 because it is going to be the de facto version until 122 comes out. However, if you still wanted to update, then here we freaking go. Well, we update to 1.21.5 right here. And of course, where do we get the numbers from? The numbers we get from right here, and that is going to be the NeoForge project. Do note that the 1.21.5 versions are all still in beta, actually, which is very, very crazy. But this is going to be 21.566-beta, and I believe that is what we have right here. Indeed, we do. That is going to be awesome, and that's going to be our minimum version. And here, our minimum version is going to be 21.5 and then 0.6, and the mappings are for the they are actually updated already, and those are for 19. So this is the 19th of April. Awesome. That is going to be that, and maybe we also need to update the mod def, although I'm not 100% sure. I think that, well, let's just take a look right here just for the sake of argument, because we do have the mod def as well, and that is actually 88. We can update it to 88 as well. Why the frick not? So once we have changed all of that, then I think we should be good to go, and we can reload the Gradle changes. This is now once again going to take anywhere from a couple of seconds to a minute or so, sometimes a little bit more, depending on how fast your internet connection, how fast your PC is on all of that jazz. Now, I have already downloaded all of this, although apparently it has re-downloaded some of it, and that is why most likely it's going to be a little bit faster for me in this case. But let's just let this run through, and once we're done, then we're going to continue, yeah. And there we go, not quite a minute 59 seconds, and let's freaking go. We will start in the blocks because a couple of things have changed in the blocks, namely the growth chamber, where the onRemove method no longer exists. We're going to remove the onRemove method, crazily enough, and the same thing happens in the pedestal right here. That is where both of those will be removed from, and that is now handled in the block entity itself. Now, in the block entity itself, there is also an error, but that's going to be fine. The error here is going to be right here in the deserialize NBT. And basically, the only thing we need to do now is on the get compound, we need to call the get method. Same thing right here, .get and .get. Because those have now turned into optionals right here instead of being pure integers. Yeah, there you go. And to make something drop, we want to call the pre-remove side effects method and simply call our drops method that we already have. And literally the same thing is going to happen in the pedestal. So below the drops method, we're just going to add this. And here in the inventory, we're simply going to call the .get method. And I think that that's actually everything we need in this case. There is one thing in the blocks, and that is the leaves block that has changed. Yes, the leaves block is now the either tinted or untinted leaves block. So you can see that this is a tinted particle leaves block or an untinted particle leaves block. In this case, we're going to make an untinted one, which has as its first parameter the leaf chance. Let's just do a 0.01 F over here. And the second parameter is going to be a color particle option.create for the particle type dot, is there untinted leaves? Nope. I guess we'll do tinted leaves and then just a random color over here. Sure. I have no idea what that's going to return, but we're going to be fine. We're going to be okay. Yeah, highly recommended to just play around with this a little bit. I don't know why the untinted particle leaves still need a particle leaves option of tinted ones. That's kind of strange, right? We could also literally just give him the cherry leaves over here and then just say whatever. Oh, interesting. So we can also literally just do that. Instead of the colored one, we can just give it the tinted, the cherry leaves. There you go. That's going to be awesome. So we're now going to have cherry leaves dropped from our bloodwood. Maybe the tinted ones make more sense and to actually give it a red tint, but listen, we're gonna be fine. You can figure some stuff out on your own as well, okay? I think you will be able to do that. No issues. Yeah, that's, I think, it. Components have not changed. Data gen has changed a little bit. Now, if we go to the normal stuff over here, then nothing has changed. However, I'm pretty sure in the item tags. Yes, so this, I believe, is only the case because the issues with the swords and the helmets, that's going to be fine. However, here we're going to have an issue, not with the swords and the helmets, but rather with the armor itself. Because the armor has changed again, because they did find out that this is not actually quite right. Why would you give it a string when you can give it a resource location from namespace and path tutorial mod ID bismuth? Listen, I don't know, okay? At this point, I don't know what the frick they're doing in Mojang headquarters when they're doing this stuff, but yeah, okay. Regardless, the issues here are all pertaining to the items, so we're gonna fix that, well, basically separately in the items. And right here, the trim smithing template. I actually believe this is no longer working because the pattern that it needs is a resource key of the pattern. And I believe that does not work. I have tried this out before, but I'm pretty sure this does not work for some reason. So if I were to do this, we're going to get an error. So it might be the case that the trim patterns don't work. So if I were to do this, oh, that's not quite what I had in mind. I actually had something like this in mind. Oh, yeah. Oh, it always splits that up. That's interesting. Okay. Throws error. We're going to keep it like this, but we're going to do that. I'm already sure this throws an error. That's why I commented it out. So sadly, some of the trim stuff might not work entirely. Bummer, but it is what it is. Effects enchantments, well, I think at this point enchantments should not work anymore, although who the frick knows at this point. There is something in the gecko though, in the gecko entity. There is something, and that is right here. In the variant, we now also need to call the .get method. Oop, there we go. We need to do the same thing in the renderer. We do not actually need to do that in the renderer. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Well, would you look at that? Well, if not, then it's going to complain about that anyway, right? So that's going to be okay. So items, we have the mod armor materials, which is actually not changed. The mod armor item, of course, has changed in its entirety. And the reason why, haha, pretty neat. There is no more armor item. It no longer exists. We now are a normal item. Yeah, baby. Yeah, so we're a normal item. So the constructor here is going to change to just have the properties. This is now called the jump boost. The inventory tick method now takes in as its last parameter. So we're going to delete the isSelected and slot ID. And this is going to be a nullable of equipment slot in this case, which is going to be the slot. In this case, we're not even going to use that. And then the level is actually a server level. Boop and boop. So that now works totally fine. In theory, you no longer need to check whether or not it is a client side or not because, well, we're getting a server level. So we're 100% on the server. Then down here in the get armor slots, we get, now it's getting very interesting. Has player correct armor on? Before, we simply went through and said, hey, let's go through all the armor slots. Armor slots no longer exist because, okay, I have just decided to do this. And the reason why is because when we get this, we no longer get the armor, but what we actually get is simply the equipment slot of feet right here. And then here we get the equipment slot of legs. So I'm going to change this to legs. And then here we're going to get the equipment slot of type chest. And then here we're going to get the equipment slot of type head. And this just checks whether or not it has a equipable component and then takes the asset ID and compares it. And in theory, because we're not casting anything, I think it should just work. And I don't know if it will or not, but I think it does. I think it does. So yeah, that's the change over here that you're going to get for the mod armor item because they changed it in 3 different versions. The entirety of how the armor system works. And you will see this very significantly in the mod items class. Yeah, because What do you mean a sort item? That no longer exists. It's now an item. Yeah, because they went back on their idea. Not quite, actually, not quite. But yeah, why would a sort be a sort, right? It's now just an item where you have item and then you do properties.sort. And then you do this. I'm sorry. I don't know. We have gone through, they had the properties and had the attributes created for each of the different things in the sort item and the item. And then they were like, no, that's stupid to do that. Let's just do it like this. And then they changed it about again. And now they did it like this, where you have to call the sort property on the item properties, which it basically adds a sort properties over here. Basically, it adds a component, right? It adds a tool component to that item. Good thing that exists and we don't have to do this manually, but it still seems really freaking strange to me. I don't understand any of it, why they would do it. And the same thing happens for the pickaxe. You now want to call the properties.pickaxe over here and simply add that to the list of things to do. There we go. Now, we don't need to do this for the shovel or the axe or the hoe, because apparently those are good enough to get custom classes. Sure. The hammer item has changed, because that is now going to be, well, no longer a digger item, because a digger item no longer exists. It is now a normal item. However, here, what we can do is, I believe we can... No, I've literally just removed everything. I don't think that that's quite right for the hammer item. Oh, I just made it a pickaxe as well. You know what? I think that's fair. We're just going to give it the properties right here. Boop, and boop, and boop. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to say properties.pickaxe, because basically, I mean, if we're honest, the hammer is pretty much a pickaxe, right? I mean, it's a tool, it's a pickaxe. Sure, that's going to be fine. Now, that's the changes for the tools, and then the changes for the armor, which, like I said, there no longer is an armor item, so we now have a normal item right here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and even the animal armor is no longer an animal armor. It's now this. Because what do you expect do we need to do here? Of course, we need to take the properties, and we need to call properties dot, can you guess it? Yes, humanoid armor. And then simply pass in the material and then whatever the armor type is. I am sometimes lost for words at what they come up with. I don't know. I genuinely think at this point, what they should do is they should just say, you know what? We're not going to add any updates for a year and then just rewrite entire Java from scratch. The entire Minecraft Java version from scratch. Because there's so much bloat at this point, I just don't even know. Because the same thing happens right freaking here, where, of course, we stack to 1, and that can stay. But then we also have horse armor with a freaking armor material. Mod armor materials.bismuth armor. And of course, we no longer need to say that it's equestrian, because, well, we are calling the horse armor method, of course. Of horse? No, of course. Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Finally, the hover text over here has changed its signature. So we now have, as you can see, instead of a list of component, we now have a consumer of components, and we simply say components.accept instead of component.add. And the same thing then happens here. P stack, p context, p display, and then the fourth parameter is the components over here. And there you go. And that should do it. I believe the chisel also has that. It does indeed. And basically, you can simply take the same signature over there. And then here we have components.accept instead of components.add. Accept, there we go. The stack here is the p stack, and then tool components is components.accept. Easy enough. P stack right here. Also easy enough. And once again, we're simply going to have this context, the display, and finally here the components. And then that error goes away as well. In the magic block, thinking about that, we also have a append hover text no longer exists for the block. Meaning that we probably have to do it manually in the block item, but we're not going to do that. So we're simply going to delete the hovering for the block, sadly. So that's sadly also going to be a thing that is gone. In the model down here, oh yeah, multivariant no longer works. Sorry, this is now going to be called dispatch. Because of course it is. I'm just going to copy this over, okay? We're just going to copy this over. So you can see that instead of a suffix variant, we're creating that, but we're creating it with a plain variant. For some reason, I don't know. Don't at me, okay? I somehow figured this out on how this works. I may or may not have looked at the redstone lamp again. But yeah, that's basically it. It is also everything as per usual and always linked down below in the GitHub repository, so you can double check it there as well. And that is that. Now, is there anything else big? Yes, trims. Trimmaterial.create. Yep, that no longer works because now it's a new trim material. With the first parameter being, I absolutely love this. Material asset group dot create bismuth. Listen, like that. This is so ridiculous. We delete the item and the location and the map of as well, and all of a sudden it works. Yeah, so that's something, I guess. Yes, this is correct. Mod trim patterns is similar but different. We have a new trim pattern. We no longer need. Oh, we actually also need a. Okay, no. Wait a second. Okay, we now need a resource location as its first parameter. And then a comma, and that's it. I don't know. Villagers. Oh my, what has changed here? Well, instead of a name given via a string, it's now a component. Okay, sure. It might be the case that this is now going to actually show Kaupenjoe literally, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be easily figured out. I think that we're going to be able to withstand something like that. And now I think I have almost everything, although I'm pretty sure I've forgotten something because I completely cannot remember what 1.2 and 1.5 changed. So we're just going to literally rerun the Gradle and see if there's going to be any errors thrown. There we go. Animal sheep. Sure. Animal sheep. Oh, it just changed its location. And then here, the Kaupenjoe value. Yes. Wait, I think we can fix that. That is for the villager event. Here, instead of value, we want to do get key. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And then we have the pedestal block entity renderer. Oh my, of course, the block entity renderer. How could I forget this? It has changed so significantly you don't even realize. There's now a vec3 in here, which is I don't know actually what that one is. Can I see this in the super maybe in the if I go in here? Oh no, I wanted to go in here. Does it have a name there? var7. Yeah, okay. I mean, there you go. It's now a vector3. I don't know. We don't need it in this, so we're good. We're good. Anything else? Project errors? Modifiers? Oh yes, of course. The mob spawn settings in the world gen has changed. Oh my. What are we doing now? Well, instead of a list, we now need to make this a weighted list because, of course, before we had the spawner data over here where we gave it a 20 here for the weight. Well, that is crazy because if you have a list anyway, just make a weighted list.of and give it a weight. Now, in this case, we don't need to give it a weight because it's the only element in the list, but we still need a weighted list. All right, fair enough. And then I think that's it. I think that's everything. Let's first of all run data again because I do believe that we need to regenerate the bismuth lamp and some other stuff here. I think it regenerates some stuff, right? Am I crazy? Have I lost my mind? 48 written. I don't even know what the frick it did. I have no idea. It might have written the model files for those. Yeah, those all had to be rewritten. Apparently. Oh my. Well, there you go. That's all rewritten, and then let's jump into the game and see what is left and what works. Oh my. Alright, creating a new world just in case, and we will frickin' see. So right now, I mean, listen, we're doing pretty well. This is pretty good. Some of this stuff still works. We can still throw this. Absolutely amazing. Let's see if the armor returned. Well, it didn't. Wait. Oh. Something here, that does not seem right. Okay, something is definitely broken with the mod armor item. But that's okay, that's okay. We also can't see any armor in our inventory. That's, you know, slightly concerning. So the mod armor item, we should probably take another look at that one. But that's okay. Can I sit on the chair still? I can actually. That's pretty neat. Can I still craft something in our custom block entity? Yo, I can. Let's go. Gecko? Does the gecko still work? Oh, it does. Let's go. Okay, listen. Listen. This seems pretty good. This seems pretty neat, okay? Overall, most of the stuff, as you can see, still working right here. And I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, the hammer, I'm pretty sure the hammer still works. I'm pretty sure that was one of the big things that I've always tested just to make sure that that still works. But yeah, that one works. This works. That works. Locate a plains biome, I'm pretty sure, is going to be the one to find our beautiful, oh boy, that's not at all what I'm looking for. Our trees in? Do we not have trees in the plains biome? Or where do they spawn? or they don't spawn at all anymore, which would be kind of a bad thing. Bloodwood trees, plains. Oh my. This does not bode well, does it? Oh wait, of course. Wait a second. I'm pretty sure they don't spawn because we've changed them to be only spawning on Netherrack. Yeah. Okay. Well, that would explain that. Oops. I mean, let's just take a look, right? I mean, why not? Oh, okay, that's another thing. That I believe we can only fix with a client call. Because I don't know how to do that in there. But look at that. That's awesome. That's nice. Let's go. And the leaves are even spawning some of the particles. Awesome. Yeah, so to fix some of the issues with the rendering, we can add to our client setup over here the setting of the render layers again. In theory, this is not recommended, and you can see that it's actually deprecated since 1.19. You should do this in the model file. However, I don't know how to add it in the data gen right now. So if you do know this, or you know someone that knows this, you know, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Once again, we'll make a pinned comment with any sort of changes or things that we need to update in a gist. Yeah, down below, either in the GitHub repository, sorry, either in the description or inside of a pinned comment. But there you go. That is at least updating to 1.21.5 in, I mean, mostly functional capacity. I feel like for the fact that there are so many changes that we've basically taken almost 2 hours in video form to update this, where I've taken this, I mean, where I did this like quite fast. Yeah, that's pretty neat. I mean, that's probably only going to take you about like, you know, 10 hours of dedicated work to update everything. So there you go. Congratulations. Listen, if you're still watching, you can type in, I don't know, what are we going to do now? Banana duck, okay? Just do banana duck. Banana duck. There you go. In the comments, if you actually still watching this after freaking 22 and some minutes or something like that. And if you actually updated to 1.21.5, congratulations. Like I said, I do hope that you have saved the repository before, the project before though, because I do think 1.21.1 will stay the big version until 1.22 comes out. I'm probably not going to do an updated video for that though. Just FYI, okay? I just wanted to sort of say this. I don't know. Regardless, that's going to be it for this tutorial right here, and this basically concludes the 1.21.1 series. Depending on what comes out next, if it's 1.22, there's a new series. If 1.21.6 comes out next, I'm first of all going to cry a little bit, but then we're going to do another series as well. Regardless, that's going to be it for this tutorial right here. Hope you found this useful and you learned something new, and I'll see you all in the next tutorial. So, yeah.